Hi, we're going to talk about the system-defined attribute Dunder name in this video. So we've been studying Dunder methods a lot. Now, in addition to Dunder methods, Python also have these special attributes that they kind of looks like the Dunder methods. They are prefix and postfix with two underscores, and oftentimes they have some special meanings or have some very good use cases. So, and these attributes, they can actually exist in many different places. Pretty much any object might potentially have these Dunder attributes. And remember, everything in Python is an object, right? So, such as classes, instances, classes, functions, and even files is an object. Okay, so anyway, so let's look at these system-defined attributes at the file level first. And we actually are familiar with this the Dunder name attribute of a file, of a Python file at least, because we've been using or been suggesting that you use this if Dunder name equal to string Dunder main, then we run our code. So what exactly does this Dunder name and this Dunder main mean? Okay, so the rule is that if the Python file is the file that we are executing, and then the Dunder name, that special attribute, it is assigned a value of a string that is Dunder main. Okay, otherwise that means the Python file is not the one that we're directly running, but it's most likely being imported to another Python file. If it's being imported, then the Dunder name system attribute is assigned the name of the file that does not have the .py extension. So let's see what it looks like in actual practice. Okay, so here I type out a very simple file called a.py. And all it does is when we first execute this file, we'll print out what the system attribute and the name is. And then, if it is main, then we print out, we are running A's main. All right, so let's see what it actually prints out when I run it. So what it prints out is the Dunder name. In this case, when I execute a.py, Dunder name is actually assigned the attribute or the value, sorry, a string that is Dunder main. Okay, and since Dunder name is Dunder main, then it is equal to Dunder main, and therefore it will print out we are executing A's main, right? So pretty straightforward in this case. And if you want to see step by step what happens when we run a.py before we even run before Python even execute a single line of code, it sets the Dunder name, the special system attribute, to the string Dunder main. Okay, and yeah, so when we print this out, this is our output. That's what we see. And then because these two are equal, we see in our console output a sub main. Right. All right. Okay. What about if things is a little more complicated? So we keep a.py the same. Now we add an additional b.py, and inside b.py we import a. Okay. So and we will run b.py. Okay. So what happens when we first run b.py, and before we even execute a line of code in b.py, Python would set for b.py, the Dunder name system attribute to main, right? Because right now we're executing b.py. Okay, so now when it executes the line import a, the control is actually transferred to the script a.py. Okay, and now, but before it executes a single line in a.py, it has to set the system attribute under name. Now, in this case, because we are not running a.py, right? Remember, we're running b.py, but we're importing inside b.py, we import a. So in this case, in the a.py, the dunder name is actually set to a and not dunder main. Okay, that's kind of the key difference here. And then when it prints it out, you will see that in the console output, the dunder name in a is actually a. Okay, and when we come to this line of code, we're checking, okay, if is dunder name, is it equal to dunder main? Well, this is going to be false, right? Because dunder name is a is not dunder main, so it will not execute this line of code, print a is main. So it will not do that. And instead, it finishes whatever's in the rest of the a.py, and then it comes back here in b.py because that's the one we're actually executing. And then it will go to the next line. It will print, in B, what is the name, what is dunder name, right? Well, we know in that dunder name in B is set to main. And then we come here, execute, dunder name in main, dunder name in b.py is main, so this condition is true, and it will run B's main in this case. And it will not, again, it will only run b.py's main and not a.py's main. Okay, so you actually want to see it happen. This is what actually, when you run this code, that's actually what happens. So what we've been doing, as I've said in the last couple of weeks, is that if we have any code that we actually want to execute, execute, not define, right? We can define a class, can define a function, but if we don't call it, those definitions don't actually get run. Now, if we want to call them, then we should put those code in a if dunder name equal dunder main block, so that when we actually execute the script itself, B itself, then we'll run those code. However, if we, in case of A, right, the fact that B wants to import A probably just means B needs some definition, some class definition, some function definitions from A, but it doesn't really want to run what's actually in A, right? So in that case, this block of code, having this in A would prevent, these code that's normally would execute when we execute A directly, but this block of code will prevent this from being run if it's being imported to B. And these block of code usually it's either kind of in case of our game, it's the main game loop, or in case of or sometimes it also includes test code and things like that. So things like, especially test code, we definitely, if we have test code here inside A, we definitely don't want to run the test code when we import this into B, right? So that's why we use this if dunder name equal to dunder main condition in most of our files, to protect the code that we only want to run if this script is the script that is being executed and not imported.